All right, hi everybody. Welcome back to my channel, The Black Carnivore. I am just trying out a live stream. For some reason, I thought I didn't have the ability to do this, but I don't know. I came across some videos and looks like I can. So I am just, trying it out and seeing what happens. Not really sure what's going to happen. Um, so if you are out there and you have a question for me, go ahead and type it up, type it into the chat box. I announced a couple of days ago that I am now a coach on MeatRx, and I'm really excited about it. Really enjoy talking to people and helping them to, optimize the way that they're eating and get to their goals. I hate to see people struggling using information that's outdated or inaccurate or just unhelpful. And so, I'm really enjoying having that opportunity. And I have had an opportunity to talk to a couple of people already, and it's really cool. So if you are interested, definitely, head over to MeatRx and look me up. You can book me there. And but if you have a quick question right now, type it up. I see a few people in here. Go ahead and type it up in the chat box and let me know, and maybe I can answer a few questions. And bear in mind, I'm using new software that I have no idea how to use or what I'm doing. So I may or may not be able to see it. So anyway, I'm curious to hear how other people are sort of managing how much fat they're eating. For a while, I was, kind of swinging back and forth between, the idea of having a more Ted Naiman style, lower fat carnivore program, and then more like the PKD and a higher fat approach. And so I'm still kind of playing around with it and figuring out where I need to land. I see Chase LeBeau. Hey, hi, nice to see you. So you'd like to know how to start carnivore during this pandemic. We have a lot of stores rationing meat. Yeah, I mean, that is real. And that's actually kind of very for me and for a lot of people. I'm in New York City, and I do have access to a car, so I have driven further afield and found grocery stores that do still have ample stores of red meat. So I think that you're going to have to travel a little further to find it. And I have circled around to a couple of different grocery stores because many of them do have a limit of like maybe 5 pounds for for how much hamburger meat you can buy at a time. So so that's how I've handled it. But also what is happening, I'm organizing the New York City carnivores and trying to get us to work together, develop a relationship with some local ranchers, and try to go in together on buying a half a cow or a quarter of a cow. I mean, obviously, where we are in New York City, we've got major issues with space. So I do not have a ginormous freezer. None of us do. And none of us even have a place. Even if we went in together and bought one together, there's no place for us to keep it. So, so trying to work together to split up a cow, I think is what we're trying to do. And I think that's another option. The reality is, like, this is going to be a long-term issue. I mean, right now the processing plants is the slowdown, but I think that there is a movement that is funded by people with a lot of money to move people into a plant-based diet. And so that means that there's going to be a lot of things that can interrupt or make access to red meat more difficult. So I would recommend starting to work with your local community and seeing if you can develop those relationships. Now, some farmers have already kind of figured this out, and they're boxing up food and and allowing you to sort of pick what you want instead of like saying, okay, you can buy a half a cow or a quarter of a cow. That's the way that's the way it used to be done, and now there seem to be other options. So I might start to work with your local community and try to organize that. Now, I am working with some people who are, trying to enable people, individuals, and communities around the country to figure out how to do that for themselves. So if you do have a group of people and, you want to try to figure this out, definitely reach out to me and I will do what I can to help you, to figure that out. And I'm basically, like a half step ahead of you in terms of figuring out how to do it for myself. The other thing to consider is, you can of course order from like wellness meats or white oak pastures. These are some grass-fed, pastured, or grass-fed farms that raise animals that are pastured, never fed grain and that sort of thing. So that could be a great option, but I'm sure you're seeing now that they are way over. I mean, there's so much demand that their stuff is almost always sold out. So that's only going to work for some people, and I don't know how much money you have to spend on meat. I am not yet at the point where I want to spend that kind of money on meat. So I need to look for options that are closer and, where we might be able to negotiate a better price. So those are my suggestions for doing a carnivore diet. But, and then I also have to remind myself that even if it's hard and even if it's more expensive, getting through this pandemic on a diet of, pasta, rice, beans, that is not that's not an option. That's going to make me sicker, far sicker, and probably much more vulnerable to to what's going around now. So I would do better to just stick with my carnivore program and just stay as healthy as possible. And I am not a huge fan of fasting, but it might be that I'm going to have to do that and get better at it and sort of ration how much meat I'm eating. I have increased my fat a bit so that I'm trying to, stay around a pound of meat a day. And that's sort of a way too to stretch out what I have, because I can fit maybe, I think, about 30 pounds of meat into my freezer. So that's kind of, that's sort of the option I've taken there. But great question, Chase, and thank you so much for posing it. I see there are a couple of people watching, so if you have a question, go ahead. Let's see. Your biggest fear of starting carnivore is the trough of despair and having digestive problems, and I'm on public transportation. Are there any supplements I can take to prevent any accidents? Yes, fair enough. So the trough of despair, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. If you feel like your mood is impacted upon going carnivore, to me that might sound like you're not getting enough fat, because fat is really important to our brain and to our brain's operations. And if you're not getting enough, that will impact your mood, and that can make you feel feel a lot worse. Now, the digestive trouble that's real, and that there's a lot of reasons why that might be happening. In the beginning, it can be just a sign that your the microbiota that is living in your gut is shifting, and you have some die off, and that's what happens. And that's okay. Don't worry about that. That's not a bad thing. It's just uncomfortable and a pain in the butt. For a few weeks. The other option is, or the another thing to consider is, how much water are you drinking? So if you drink a lot of water, within like a half an hour, up to a half an hour before or half an hour after your meal, that can dilute your stomach acid and just sort of make you less effective at digesting your food, and it can cause that. So you might also limit your fluid. And I don't mean that over the total day. I'm just talking about in conjunction with how much you're eating, or what you're eating at that moment. Another thing to consider is, are you eating too much fat? So, I have come to learn that both too much fat and too much protein can do that for you. So And I'm talking about in one sitting, not over the course of a whole day. So I know that I can hit about 12 ounces, maybe 1 pound of meat max in a meal. But if I go over that, I'm going to have a problem. So if you're trying to do one meal a day and you're eating, you're trying to fit in, and you're, let's say you're a big person and you need a couple of pounds of meat just to, continue operating, trying to eat that all in one meal could be also part of the problem. So you might want to think about that. Um, I think that digestive problems shouldn't last more than a couple of weeks. If you're having that more than a couple of weeks, then you got to really look more closely to try to understand what is happening. And as far as, I don't think there are any supplements. I mean, Imodium would be the only thing I would think of that could be, helpful in a crunch. But you probably, um, that's probably not going to be all that helpful. There are supplements like bile and other kinds of supplements that can be helpful in the digestive process. But if you don't have low stomach acid, that's not really necessary or advised. So that would be my recommendation there. And in terms of accidents, also one thing that can happen is a salt flush. And it's when you drink a large amount of water with a certain percentage of salt in it. And I don't know that number, but I know I've made mistakes and I've hit that number. So that can happen. That is explosive, quick, and uncomfortable, but not ultimately harmful. So you probably want to be careful about how much electrolytes you're adding to your water. And so those are my suggestions there. And in terms of how you time this so that public transportation isn't an issue, I would try to eat at least an hour before you need to leave the house, or you need to leave and be on the road. That would be my recommendation. And hopefully you'll be able to work it out. I see Carnivore Chef asked, do I use any supplements? So not really. The only thing I have added pretty regularly is I've gotten those fasting drops or electrolyte drops from Keto Chow. And I do that because I feel like my water, my tongue desires that taste in water. So I think that means that I need some electrolyte supplementation. So that I do pretty regularly. But other than that, I don't use any other supplements regularly. I I have bought all the things. So I have a graveyard of bottles in my cupboard from let's see, bone meal powder or bone powder, and collagen protein or collagen powder that you can add to coffee or whatever. I have potassium, magnesium. I have all of the ingredients to make snake juice. So yes, I have a lot of these things, but I really don't take them all that often. Oh, and ancestral supplements. I've taken those, for the organ meats. I don't know. I can't say that I really notice a massive difference. So, you can try these things, but I don't know. I haven't found that it was compelling enough that it was worth continuing to use on a regular basis. So there you go. Anybody else? Anybody else have a question? No. Okay. So it has been lovely getting to talk to you guys. I am going to definitely check this feature out more. I really didn't think that I could go live because I don't have enough subs yet, but evidently it worked. So I look forward to more of this from me, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye. Now I don't know how to hang up. Oh, here we go.